Hello, welcome to episode 28 of the SWR Darts Coaching Podcast with me, Sean, a full-time professional darts coach. We do exist, we are out there. I am PDPA Level 1 qualified, JDC Level 2, Site Right accredited, Darts Site trained, and I'm also now a solution-focused hypnotherapy practitioner as well. I've got an accreditation for it, let's put it that way. But what's this all mean? You know, you listened to my podcast before. I'm here to help you in your darts game. But today we have Natasha Lloyd on the episode. Now this is a full episode that I recorded with Natasha about a week ago. Natasha is a darts coach who's also Site Right accredited and JDC accredited as well. She runs the Cambridge's JDC Darts Academy. And I sat down with Natasha to have a chat with her about how she's finding darts coaching, how she's finding her own game, and also the fact that she started a TikTok channel and what she found when she started a TikTok channel. Everything that you'll hear in this podcast, all the links I'm going to put in the show notes down below. Yes, show notes, that sounds posh, doesn't it? It's basically the comment section, if you will. But this was a fantastic opportunity to sit down with Natasha and just talk about, how she finds darts coaching, how she's been finding, life since sort of COVID and everything, and what us coaches are trying to get across to players, that it's more about the mental side of the game and understanding more of this game than just understanding your throw. So it's about an hour-long episode. It's probably one of the longest episodes I've ever done, and we didn't even finish the full episode. There's still bits and bobs I want to speak to her about, so she will be back on in a few weeks' time on a different episode. But have a listen. I think you'll find it really, really helpful. I honestly do. If you're struggling at the moment with a mental game, a lot of the stuff that me and Tash talk about here in the next hour is really going to help you get a better understanding of the darts game and the way the mind works with the darts game. So I hope you enjoy the episode. This is the full episode. There's not going to be any more after we've finished. The next episode I'm going to do, I'm obviously going to sort of recap the last two guests that I've had on and other stuff, and that'll be coming out probably towards the end of the month. But let's get into episode 28 with Natasha Lloyd from the Cambridge JDC Darts Academy. Well, I'm delighted today to say that I'm joined by Natasha Lloyd, or as I know her as Tasha. I met Tash back in 2024, I think it was, on the Site Right course. I think it was about 24, wasn't it? 24, 23?
It is, yeah, about 2 years ago now.
It does seem a while ago. To be honest with you, what I remember the most from Site Right was ticking off the Weatherspoons, and that's wrong. But I do remember that. But yes, I'd like to welcome to my podcast, Natasha. Tash, welcome.
Thank you. I've been really looking forward to it. I was really excited to get your invitation, so really good.
No, brilliant. And I've been saying all over these podcasts, I mean, I think it's episode 29 we're up to now. And I've been saying it for ages. I want to get people on and I want to get other coaches on and have a chat with other coaches. And obviously last episode we had Alice on who, helps massively with the mindset.
Alice is amazing.
Oh, it was brilliant. And to be fair, I think me and Alice ended up chatting for about another hour after we finished the recording. Because she didn't want to really start peeling my onion back on my head, that's for certain, because once we get into my mindset, we're done for. But obviously, I know you. I've known you for, like I say, for a good few years through Site Right. But just tell the listeners all about yourself, how you got into darts, what your sort of background is, and what you currently do.
Okay, so I would say that I'm probably typical of most female darts players out there in that I come from a darting family. Okay, so I grew up seeing people playing darts. My nana was a county player. My family played in leagues. We went to darting weekends. And I was quite a difficult child, believe it or not. Probably got some ADHD tendencies. So I was told quite early on that I was hard work because I was very hyperactive. So my mum and dad would shift me off to my nana's every weekend for a break so they could, and I didn't sleep either. I was always very curious. So my nana had all the time for me in the world, and she introduced me to darts. I grew up watching her play darts. She was just incredible because she was this really calm, controlled woman, understated, not mouthy, not loud, she was just very gentle but very good at darts. So she was underestimated. And I used to just watch her in awe. She was very tall. Unlike me, I'm quite short. I get my mum's genes. But she would go up on the dartboard and I would just see her hit these massive scores. And I wanted to be like her. And then we grew up, like I got to an age where I started going with her to darts, probably about 12, 13. And I did that thing that most dart players do. So after the game was finished and everyone was done, they'd say, "Come and have a throw on the board," and I'd get up and I'd throw darts. Then all of a sudden, I started getting better, and it was like, "Okay, we'll put you in the pairs." And then I got even better, and it was suddenly I was in the singles. And about age 15, I was suddenly sort of playing singles against grown men and grown women. And I just felt really accepted. I felt like I found my people, you know?
Love that. And listen, I think that is. I think that was the case. You know, like I say, I mean, I came into darts, as I've said on my podcast before, just because
Mm.
I used to play dominoes, fives and threes, and we picked them up one night because we hadn't got a game.
Yeah,
But I do remember at a young age going to like the working men's clubs and the conservative clubs and
yeah.
everything like that. There are Labour clubs out there for people. I respect that. Don't start attacking me for politics, whatever you do. But I always remember seeing the dartboard and thinking, oh, I'd love to go over to that, and I never did. So I love the fact that you've got that story of growing through it there. It's
Yeah.
absolutely wonderful. And obviously, you from there on, then you just got going more and more as you went
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, it was quite interesting actually. So I started playing for Cambridgeshire Youth County. I became youth ladies captain, under 21s captain for the ladies. We did the darts weekends. I played on stage. We went to one darts weekend. I remember being in awe of Dita Hedman, watching her play as like a child, and she probably didn't even notice. But I was like, I followed her around watching her games, and then I had this. They always had a darts stand at these weekends away, where they sold darts flight stems, memorabilia and stuff. And I bought a darts autograph book, and I desperately wanted to go through and get all the dart players signatures. So I was like, people my age were like, I remember one girl saying to me at home, I'd watched her at school, I'd watched some sort of darts on TV, and I was talking about John Lowe, and she said, "John Lowe, more like Rob Lowe." And I felt really like abnormal because I was into watching this sport that I loved, and the dart players were the people that I was in awe of. But then with that comment at school, I kind of was really suddenly aware that I was a bit different to some of the other girls at school. Because I mean, back we're talking in the 90s, when I was sort of like in my teens and stuff. And yeah, I don't think it was like as popular back then. Not for
No,
girls anyway.
no, not at all. And I've got to, what you said there. I think looking back from myself, when obviously, obviously I've been involved in darts for nearly
Mm,
10 years, coming up to now. But I don't think I ever recall, people talk, kids talking about it.
no.
I was with a friend a few weeks ago I went watch a football training session. Even though I'll never get back involved in the football world, but I do like to dip my toes, across every now and then, just make sure I'm up to date.
Yeah,
And I hear the kids talking about, oh, you're going to play darts later online, and I'm like, wow, you're
yeah.
at football and you're talking about darts later. So I think it
Yeah.
has resurfaced now, hasn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, to be honest, I loved that. I mean, the best I ever did when I was playing youth county was there was the British Youth Ladies Open. There was the British Youth Open for all the youth groups, but obviously the ladies I entered, and I got to the quarterfinals. I lost in the quarterfinals at Lakeside, and it was just this amazing feeling. But soon afterwards, I kind of went on to university to do my teaching. I'm a primary teacher, and at that time, although I had passion for darts and I loved it, it wasn't, there was just nothing. There was no way that was going to be something that I could do as a future career, there seemed to be no point. It was like, right, go and get a proper job now. That's just a hobby. And there was just no real pathways for women. I mean, there was a few doing really well, but, and also my mum and dad were very much, you need to have a safe bet, go and get a safe job. So I gave up, and I got married really young. I got married before I went to university. So Gary and I got together. He played youth county as well, and we got married. And for 20 years, as soon as I hit teaching, teaching was so intense. There was just no time for darts. I just gave it up. So for 20 years, I played no darts. I didn't even pick up a set of darts. It was during COVID lockdown that I suddenly put up a board and was like, oh, I remember, I love this. And, and suddenly there was online darts. So we were trying to get set up so we could play that. And that was interesting. Some of the people you meet on there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Really.
And I think what you said there, I mean, again, I've been speaking to other people on, through the podcast, and lockdown was that thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We all found our old passions in lockdown.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember picking my Subbuteo back up and playing Subbuteo at home.
Yeah.
I'm on my own, but I'm playing Subbuteo against myself, never mind. But I think that's what we did. And like you say, that's obviously then sparked back into the love affair with darts, if you will, and
Yeah.
obviously where you've gone on from there. So just moving forward, obviously, I know you've got a darts academy and all. How did that sort of come about then in the end?
Well, again, coming on from like playing in lockdown, suddenly I've got 3 children by now. So I've got my eldest, and then I've got twin boys. And they saw us playing darts and got involved. And I really wanted them. I did that thing. I really wanted them to be passionate about darts like I was. And I'd read the book. I love to read. So I read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth. And it's an incredible book all about what is it that makes someone master something, whether that be in the art world, the business world, or the sports world. What is that mastery? How come they get to that level? And a lot of it was talking about, you've either got to have 2 things. You've either got to have this passion for something, and you keep playing with that passion until you get really good at it, because it drives you on to practice that passion. It keeps you going through the not being good stage. Or there has to be a big reward to make the painful part of going from being bad at something to being good at something. The reward has to outweigh the effort, the mundane part where you're not good, and you have to go through that pain to get to the point where you practice enough that you become good. Because when you become good at something, you feel good about something, that's when, again, your passion is there. So it's 1 or 2. So going back to the boys, we decided, now this sounds like bribery. I'm aware of how this is going to sound. Okay. But that's why I said about the book first. So you know where it's coming from. So I knew that the boys didn't have this passion yet, but I wanted something to get them off the computers during lockdown and give them a task to do. And also I was quite curious to see which of my children had the grit to go through it. Because I know I've got grit, but I didn't know if they had. So we set this challenge up. So we thought, well, the first challenge was who can be us in a game. And then we learned really quickly that you can fluke a win. And there was a cash reward, a little cash reward, something like 20 quid or something. And we were like, well, that didn't work. They did that too quickly. So there was no effort there, no period of getting better. So we had a rethink. And then we had to make the reward worthwhile to our kids. So we set the 3 boys this challenge. By this time, I think the twins were 12 and Dan must have been 15. So we said £100 reward. That's a big prize to kids of that age. So that's a big prize. Yeah. So we were like, right, we will put up a £100 prize to the first child that hits a 180, because we thought that's pretty hard to fluke. 3 good darts, that's harder than getting the odd double with 1 dart. So we set this challenge. So of course they were really up for this. They were like, 100 quid, wow. So anyway, this went on for a few weeks. So Dan, our eldest, to start with, they were all on the board, and he trailed off, and then the other twin trailed off. Josh, like one of the twins, he just kept going. He was like a dog with a bone. He was like, I'm having that 100 quid. I'm having that 100. You're going to pay up. And he got on that board every day, and he pushed and he pushed. And like I say, he was 12 when we set this challenge. 10 months later, took him 10 months. he hit his first 180. But by that time, he'd got really good at it and he had captured this love. He'd realized he was good at this. He'd started beating us in games. He was starting throwing in these big scores and he loved it. And then we paid up. We did our thing. We paid up. Gary transferred the money over. Um, but by then he'd got this absolute love for it. And we, by that time, lockdown had finished pretty much. So it was like, right, let's get him an academy. He's getting pretty good. Let's, there's this whole thing now that there's academies and clubs out there for darts, which we never had. So I started looking, and a couple of them locally were just independent clubs, but they ran on Saturday mornings. Well, Josh is also a talented footballer, and he had to make a choice. And I was like, I don't want him to have to choose between his sports. Why should he? He's good at both. So, and then we were like, right, okay. I looked into JDC academies because they're the only name I'd really heard of associated with youth darts at that time, because there wasn't much else out there. And our nearest academy, we're based in Cambridgeshire. So our nearest academy was either, I think, Milton Keynes, or Skegness. And I thought, I can't travel there. Like, that's too far away. I can't do that weekly. And then I was like, well, I'm a teacher and sport was one of my specialisms. And I love dart. I love darts and I can teach. So maybe I'd make a good coach. My husband was interested. He loved darts too. And he had done his footballing coaching certificates and been a footballing coach. And I was like, do you know what? I reckon we could do this ourselves. And also then we could run on a different day to other groups. And that gives children more choice, more access. They don't have to choose. Let's give it a go. And literally we looked online, did a search for some coaching courses, found them. I found the site right. I found the JDC, found them both at the same time. We signed up online. The JDC accreditation came first. And I remember sitting in listening to them talking in the JDC, like talk about being an academy and how you run and what you could do. And I remember just turning to my husband at the time and looking over him saying, I'm made for this. I literally am made for this. I'm so already, I just want to get my teeth into it and do this. And yeah, it went from there. We ran an open day. We found a venue who was nice enough, like a football club, to give us the venue for free, because we knew we didn't have the funds to kind of pay for it all ourselves, and we just didn't have those means. And we give it a go. We did an open day. We started off with about 8 children, and now, sort of 2 years on, it's 2 years since we did our coaching courses. We're 2 years on. We've gone from 8 children to about 40, and we run about 4 sessions a week. And the coaching has really evolved as well. So I started out doing pretty much exactly what they told me to on the open day on our courses. But now I think I've built up so much confidence with it, and because I'm a creative person as well, I'm very creative as a person. So I make up my own games. I know what I've got better at the coaching and looking for what we need to do with the children. I've got more experience 2 years down the line. I'm more confident to try things out. I'm being a senior mental health lead at my school as well. I've had mental health training and wellbeing training. Plus, I read extensively about mindset and sports psychology because I'm interested in it. And I'm now this year starting to bring that into the mindset with the coaching as well. And it's just a really, there's times on a Sunday morning, because we have to give up every single Sunday, nearly like 48 weeks of the year mostly. And we feel guilty if we don't turn up because the kids love it and they want us to be there. Sometimes I wake up on a Sunday morning feeling like, oh goodness, we could have a day off. We could go and do something with the family. But you know what? Every Sunday night when I come home, because we run our sessions and then we do JDC vaults afterwards, the competition, I leave feeling like we've done a really good job here. This has been really fun. And every week, all these mostly boys, I will say at the moment, we'll talk about the girls later. With the boys, I'm just thinking, you know, there's all this stuff at the moment about with Gareth Southgate and well-being and mental health of boys. And I'm thinking, we're doing good stuff here. We are good people and we've got good messages and we're non-judgmental and we care about these kids. We're coaching them through dealing with failures, dealing with successes. And this is all really good. They're not stuck on a computer. We're out here and they're coming to the academy. They're communicating with each other. They're talking to each other. All this stuff. And I feel like we're doing a good thing. We need more of it. We need more academies, more groups, more darts groups. Yeah, definitely.
I 100% agree. Everything you said there, I 100% agree with it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I set my academy up. I always wanted to do it different. I mean, you mentioned there, and I've just been making some notes, and I love to hear it. And obviously, I'm following you on
Yeah.
social media as well. Some of the stuff that you come up with, I absolutely love. And
Oh, me too.
I go to obviously with Unicorn now. I travel to different academies, and I see a lot of academies, and it's a lot of games, trade 501, 501, 301, and all that. And I'm like, you're not dealing with the player.
Yeah.
We're dealing with the end game here, which is
Yeah.
playing the game of darts. But you're coming to an academy, and it's where we should be learning the process. I always talk about it in here, and people will probably be fed up with me talking about it, but the word practice doesn't exist in darts. It should be training. We're
Yeah. Yeah.
training to then put into practice what we've learned in training when we play.
Yeah.
And I saw one of your posts a few weeks ago where you'd had them. I couldn't remember the exact thing I saw, but you got sheets across a table, and the kids had to sort of put the boxes, the categories for what they felt this was and what that was. And I just looked at that and I thought, that's absolutely spot on, because you're
Yeah.
not dealing with just the darts player, you're dealing with the human player as well. It's not
Yeah.
just the dart player. We can all talk about the throw and the mechanics of the throw, but
Yeah.
it's 80% in the head. And I think
Yeah.
that's an absolutely fantastic thing that you're doing.
Honestly, there's so much to do with the mindset and the trouble with, and I do this, I'm really guilty of this, and I'm a big overthinker. And like I think we're very much on the same wavelength, Sean. I think that's why we've always sort of got on really and stuff. Um, it's that thing, and I just wish that everyone who loved darts could throw with more freedom. And the trouble stopping us to throwing with freedom, the reason our game changes from what we do when no one's watching and when we're enjoying our darts and just throwing at the board and playing these little games at home and stuff, or playing with a mate, to when we go to a league or a competition, the difference, which affects obviously, as you know, the body tension and our mindset and those small, tiny little things where we just carry ourselves differently or go into a game differently. Um, all of it is about our self identity. And I see this with the youth players, and we just discuss it and really openly with them. And I just kind of drip feed because, if they hear these messages all the time, just drip feeding. And it's about that, giving ourselves a break. I think so much of us are wrapped up in our self identity of a good dart player, and anything that possibly a bad game, like someone we respect watching us, or an offhand comment, or someone projecting their own emotions onto our game, because people deal with their failures differently. I think all of those things can affect us, and if we can actually, it's all about awareness, isn't it? I think there's never gonna be a fix, solving this problem, because you're always going to have the intrusive thoughts come up. But it's about the awareness, and if you are aware when these things happen. I'm a real fan. Recently I did some reading, and I can't remember the source, but it wasn't me, it's something I've read somewhere, and it might have came from the Inner Game of Golf, actually, because there's some good information in that. But it was
Brilliant,
kind of
it
like,
was.
yeah, it kind of like, I've done some work recently with my academy on this, about those fears that come up in your head, the stories you tell yourself, and then the fact that these stories are not necessarily true. They are an intrusive thought, or kind of like a fear. And what you have to do, it's easy to say, think positively, but unless you believe what you're thinking, it's not going to make no difference. And that's where it falls down. It's that bit in the middle, that crucial stage where you challenge it with evidence and you prove to yourself, well, that isn't true. And it's kind of, I'm trying to train my kids up to kind of just realize that when these fears come up, like, oh, that person's a better player than me, the solution isn't to say, oh, I'm as good as them or anything. It's to say, do you know what? I might be the underdog, but there's freedom with being the underdog because underdogs sometimes win. Aren't I? Won't this game be not? Isn't this game scary? I'm probably going to lose. Isn't this game exciting? What might happen? And trying to get them to step away from trying to predict the future. We all do it. We all go in and you're already telling your story about the future outcome. And if we can get away from telling ourselves trying to predict the future and just being more in the moment, oh, just I want everyone to be able to enjoy their darts and not get so hung up on that.
You're absolutely spot on. The brain knows no different between
Yeah,
reality and imagination. And
yeah,
the more we imagine them scenarios, like you just said there, oh, I'm playing, I'm playing top player today. Oh, I haven't hit a checkout for weeks. I haven't hit tops for weeks, and we're telling ourselves that, and we're visualizing them issues as well within our imagination. And the brain knows no different.
yeah,
And obviously, over recent time on this podcast, after this, I'm going to be talking about. I've recently become a hypnotherapy solution focused
oh
hypnotherapist.
wow, that sounds amazing.
It was a course I was interested in after a meeting with Chris O'Connor from the PDPA, and
Yeah,
I've taken the course. I've only just started.
yeah,
Really, I've got my first accreditation, but I did a session with a player the other week, and it's all about clearing that stress bucket when you're at the hockey.
yeah,
And like you just said, the word you use there, I think, is absolutely spot. You go into that hockey and you just go in with freedom.
yeah,
If
yeah,
I hit a score of 7, I've hit a score of 7. It's still
yeah,
7 points towards 0.
yeah,
But them next 3 darts that 3 darts of 7, if I'm negative towards it and my body language is showing that I'm unhappy,
yeah,
well, the brain then just thinks that that's the scenario. And it then creates that fear of, is there a polar bear in front of me? The fight, flight, and freeze.
yeah,
And it's,
100%.
we're just throwing some darts. And
Yeah,
I think you're right in what you say. If we can get that into the academies, we can get into the young
mm,
players now, it's going to
yeah,
benefit them down that sort of darts career
yeah,
path almost.
yeah,
That when they're up there and they're playing against adults and other people outside of the academy scenarios, they're just like, yeah, I've just hit a 7, mate. It's all right, 7 points towards
yeah.
0. Don't worry about it. I'm clearing my mind. I'm going to go and do it again.
100%. Also, I also think there's a thing that we need to get out to more coaches because generally, I think a lot of coaches are darts enthusiasts, people who love darts, but that doesn't always mean that they are well informed. They need more support, they need more information about how to support with this side. And I do a lot on my TikTok account about because I've got that theory base from my teaching about behavior management, and I've done a lot of courses with neurodivergent children too, and feeling like I'm probably on that spectrum myself with my ADHD tendencies and stuff. But there's sometimes really well-intentioned coaches or well-intentioned parents, but might be saying the wrong things to children when they lose their darts and handling those situations where they lose games. So I try and sort of put stuff out there, content out there about like when a child has a bad game or a young player has a bad game or loses, the solution when they come off is you should have won that. That's in creating these entitled children who think maybe sometimes that they're built up, and sometimes you get these talented children and they hear all this good stuff and they're not grounded to realize again that their self-identity is separate to this game, so they get built up and they cling on to this fact that they're a really good player, and then when it starts to fall down or when they go through a dip, because as we know, we've spoke about before, Sean, like progress isn't linear. It's you're going to have plateaus and downs and ups. So when that happens, when there's a down, the coaches need the skills to know what language to use and how to support them. And we try to get across to our children, in every game you're not entitled to win, even if you can perceive yourself and others perceive yourself as a better player. That still doesn't entitle you to win. Like what we're looking at is going into a game thinking I could win this, or when you come out of the game the other side, I could have won that if I didn't. So you're looking at what you did positively, what you had, what mistakes were made, but not mistakes in a kind of judgmental way, but like in a curious way, like, okay, that's something I need to work on then. And I think one of our biggest things is some children in their immaturity, and again, these are all children, they're learning. We're not judging and saying, oh, you know, in an awful way, judging them. We're trying to support them as they grow with their mindset and things. And it's kind of supporting them to look at their mistakes as opportunities to learn rather than to berate themselves. And then like that's kind of where we come from. But I think sometimes there's still some adults that perhaps need support about how to handle that and how to use that language with children. And then I'm hoping that would create this better mindset and then to still feel better about themselves going into other games, if that makes sense.
100%. You're absolutely spot on. And I think, you know, going back over time, looking at, you know, how the coaching courses have always been, most of the coaching courses I've done within darts has always been about, you know, the mechanical side.
Yeah.
We never really scrape, you know, mindset. It's all about the mechanical side. And all right, as coaches, you know, as you've done and as I've done,
yeah.
You know, we go out there and we learn our own process. You know, we go onto our own courses and everything. But the words you just said there, that, you know, I always call it the shoulda, woulda, coulda. I should have won that.
Yeah.
I should have won that.
Yeah.
Well, you would have won that if, you know, then you get the, well, you would have won that if you hadn't been, you know, sulking as you come off the dartboard. No.
Yeah.
There's no should or would here. You could have won it, but you haven't. So let's look at the positives, and there are negatives.
Yeah.
And I always say, I used to say to one of my players, whenever you play, take a positive, but take a negative. And I'll never forget, he turned around once and he went, well, I've won 3-0. There's no negative. I said, of course there is. I said, what can you work on from that game? And he went, oh, probably working on, like, you know, maybe my setups better. I went, well, there you go.
Yeah.
You've identified an area we can look at and we can work on. I said, because with anything we do, in what you just said about, you know, some players think, well, I'm the best in this group, so I'm going to win anyway.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you take that foot off the gas a little bit. And as you take your foot off the gas, all of a sudden that player goes ahead of you. And then you don't know what to do in that scenario.
Yeah.
So
100%.
You push yourself too much.
Yeah. And it's also the other things, the perhaps things I haven't thought of. So we talk about, again, the things you can control and the things you can't control. So the number of times, like children, and I mean, adults do this as well, but obviously we see a lot with the children. I try and get across to them. They'll say, it was too noisy. They were clicking their darts. It was too bright. That was the wrong kind of board. And there's all these things. Oh, they made that noise, and I'm like, okay, so that is something you can't control. You can't control if you think that that dartboard isn't lit bright enough. You can't control if someone's talking over there and you've tuned into what they're saying. So what you're saying is what you need to work on is your focus. You need to work on your ability to ignore distraction. You need to master your emotions so that you don't start to focus on the negative during a game, that you get better at recognizing when you're slipping into that mindset, and you need to work on your self-talk. And I'm trying to get across the things that you can moan all you like about all these things. You're never going to have the perfect situation to play darts that you want. And actually, if you're a good dart player, you need to be able to perform under lots of different circumstances, and the conditions will be the same for other people too. So it's kind of like, I really wanted them to get away from this victim mentality and try to just focus on what they can do and stop blaming everything else. You know, it's so hard.
It is, but you're correct in what you're saying there about the blame. I'm not going to call it a mentality, but this blame. I was at a competition a few weeks back, and I hate to use the word dartitis, but listen, we say it out there. Yeah. And I saw this kid lose in a knockout thing. I wasn't there. I was with another friend over there, but this kid come away, and all I heard him say to his dad was, "My dartitis is here again." And I raised my head, and I had a little wander over. Me being me, I have to, you know, I can't when I hear something. And I just said, did you lose that game, mate? Unfortunately, he went, "Yeah, I've got dartitis." And his dad turned around to him. He went, "He's got to blame Summit."
Yeah.
I went, "Well, I'm not being funny." I said, "I actually was looking at that game as well." I said, "Because I knew the player you were playing." I said, dartitis isn't what you think it is, young man. He's like, well, I'm not hitting my targets anymore. I went, but again, this isn't dartitis.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of young players now that are using the word dartitis to go to the fact that, well, I'm not playing well, because all of a sudden you've probably played well in your house, in your home
Yeah.
and environment, your king of your castle, as I always joke, when you're at home, or queen of
Yeah.
your castle when you're at home. And then you go to an event and you're playing against your mate, and you beat your mate because you know you can beat your mate, and then you're playing Tony over here, and Tony, you've never met Tony before, so it's the unknown, and then all of a sudden you've lost to Tony, so we've got to find something to blame.
Yeah.
And the D word gets used too much from me on that side of things right now.
It's hard as well because I think there's always different types of pressure, and I'll hold my hands up and fully admit I am exactly the same. Like I see where this comes from, and it's about facing your fears and going through things. So I will always prefer to play a man than another woman, and I see this in the academy with the kids. Actually, they sometimes play better at the adults, play again better against the adults than they do their peers. And I do think it comes back to that thing where suddenly, if you're in an underdog position, their pressure's off and you feel like it's okay if you lose because you were seen as the, like I could do that I'm holding up like in inverted commas here, like oh, I'm a woman, so the man was probably going to win. I don't mean that because I don't believe that at all, but do you know what I mean? There's that, it's almost like that get out clause, whereas when you're playing against your own, like your peers as such, I think there's that more pressure because it's almost you feel more on a par, and then there's that pressure that, I don't know, to win. Do you feel that? Do you think
No,
that's
it's absolutely spot on. I'm working with a lad at the moment. I've been mentoring him now for about two and a bit years,
yeah,
and in the ADC, the adult ADCs are phenomenal.
yeah,
He's winning them. He's getting to the finals. We're seeing it great. Goes to
mm,
the JDCs.
yeah,
Youth players, same like you say, his peers,
yeah,
the age he is. He's going out second round of a big JDC tournaments. JDC vaults. He's not getting. He's just getting past the group, but
yeah,
then that's that. And he turned around to me once and he went, explain it to me, Sean. I went, simple as, mate. So when you're playing them adults, I said, there's two things that are going on for me. One, you're going up there and going, he plays county, he does, well, see how I get on. Oh, I've won
yeah,
that, happy days. So the
yeah,
other side of it is that adult as well. We revert it to him. That
yeah,
adult's going, oh, I've got a kid, I'll be all right.
yeah,
And there's the two things. But when you go into your JDCs, oh, I'm beating adults, so I should beat these kids.
yeah,
And it's that shoulda, woulda, coulda again.
yeah. It
That
comes
we're
back.
going into it. They're going into it with this mindset that, well, I'm playing kids. I play adults now. I play adult league, so I should be winning
Yeah,
it. I know you could,
yeah,
but you've changed your game, and I'd see quite a lot where players do change the game depending upon who they're playing.
yeah,
Whereas for me, you've got one darts game, and you should
yeah,
develop your one darts game.
yeah,
I always joke about going back to football days. Crew Alexandra, we haven't got a plan B. I'm happy to say it. I've called the gaffer out before on social media. We haven't got a plan B. But as a dart
yeah.
player, you shouldn't have a plan B anyway. It should be your game to get to zero, and that's the end
100%.
game.
100% is it. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I just love the game. It's so complex. I think there's this perception with non-dart players that it just looks easy, and it's not until you actually have a go at it. There's so many elements to it, and that's like with the coaching courses. That's something I've learned and I love. And now I sat there at the competition last night, like it was ladies pairs in our league, and I was just curiously watching. I'd never like imposed myself on anyone. So yeah, I've got my academy and I've done my coaching and I've got experience now, like looking at players and stuff. But I would never offer advice. Like if they come to me and ask me, that's great. But I'd never like push myself on people. I just haven't got the confidence. But I do sit and watch people differently now. And instead of just watching the game, I'm looking at them and what they're doing. And it's fascinating because there's so many different ways. And I sit there thinking, if you came to me, I'd tweak that. The first thing I'd start with is this, or I love it. I just,
I'm smiling and laughing because that is exactly. I remember years ago, and Alex, going back to obviously the previous episode when I had Alice Pinion
yeah,
on, she told me this: says you've got to split yourself into three, Sean. There's Sean the dart player, there's
yeah,
Sean, and there's Sean the darts coach. Says, and
yeah,
when you go out and play darts, you just need to be Sean the dart player. Says, and leave the
100%.
other two at home. And I'm like, I can't. And what you just said there resonates. I was in a pub recently in Bridlington, and when I was up there for a few days, and I was watching these two guys playing darts, and I was sitting there with my pint, and I went over and asked if I could have a chuck, and they were like, "Yeah, in a minute, mate," and all that. And I was watching him, and then I'm analysing him,
Yeah.
and as he goes up and plays against him, I'm throwing, "Oh, you're a good player, mate. Do you play? No, you don't play. No, because I don't play, so I can get away with saying that." But then all of a sudden, he's like, "Oh, I'm struggling with this." I went, "That's not what you're struggling with, mate." And it was at that point that I stopped. And I realised I'd become Sean the darts coach. And today I was trying to just be Sean. I wasn't even trying to be Sean the darts player. I was just trying to be Sean.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely spot on. You do start analysing every player that you see at the hockey. But you can't. And you want to. But as coaches, we've got to sort of go, no, hold on a minute. We've got to get them come to us sometimes.
Absolutely.
But on the flip side of that coin, we want to. You're the same as me. We want to try and help as many people as we can. We're in a position where we know what we're talking about. We're in a position where we know we can help. And that's what we want to do. And regardless if it's a young 7-year-old who's just chucking for the first time, or whether it's a 51-year-old. I had a chap in here not too long back, 63 he was. And he'd even turned to me and went, "What are you going to teach me that I don't already know?" I went, "I have no idea." So, well, let's see what we do. And I did. And I taught him about his alignment pitch. And afterwards he left. He went, "I never even thought about that." I went, "Don't worry about it, mate." I said, "For the last 63 years, you've just been doing it wrong, but don't worry about it."
Yeah. It's so hard. I must admit, my personal game has been up and down since I did my coaching. And I think for two reasons. One, I never had even considered all the different elements to that. I just walked up and threw a dart. I'd had no thought in my head apart from just lobbing it at the board in whatever way. And for I mean, you saw me at the site, right? I'd got a terrible throw. I just somehow, I don't know how over years, I was considered a reasonable player. And I just evolved to learn how to play like that. And once I realised how technically awful my throw was, and equipped with this new knowledge and the passion, I just keep undoing things. But also there's that thing where, I mean, with my game, there was so much to undo and unpick. But also that knowledge on those courses, especially the site right, where it was so in depth and interesting. And Stephen Feeney, I mean, he's so inspirational to listen to. I personally found him so inspirational to listen to, and so nice. He and his wife, what a lovely family. And I just unpick so much, but knowing that the right thing to do is work on one thing at a time, but wanting to work on everything and wanting to get good as quickly as I could, but knowing that's impossible. It's been really hard. So I've got a completely different throw now, and it's still not right. We've talked about it. I'm still working on my grip at the minute. I'm changing my grip at the moment and going through that awful process of getting bad before I get good, but feeling like it's the right direction. But other people not always understanding, but it's so hard because and you can't, it's hard to coach yourself, isn't it? I think you have to be open to go into other if you believe in coaching, which I 100% do, you have to be open. I think it's a good thing to be coached yourself and talk to other people and take things on board and feel what it's like to be in the position of being coached when you coach others, kind of thing.
Totally agree with you. Many a time, I touch base with Brian Ivey, Poison Ivy Darts, and I'll talk to him about things. And I don't play anymore or anything. I don't even play pub league. I've joined a pub team for next season, and I've already told the lads, "Don't worry, lads, I'm bringing players in so I don't have to play. I'm not daft. I'm bringing players in so I can just sit there and watch." But what you said about the site, right? I mean, obviously that was where I met you and Gary and everything, and I think that was in a way an opening for me of a different approach to darts. I always class myself as a vision alignment coach now. I've spent the last few years, like you say, reading books, getting in touch with people that I've recently just done not a podcast as such, but a webinar chat with a chap from America who is all about the quiet eye and how basketball players use the quiet eye for shooting hoops. And I'm not into basketball by anything. It's the one American sport I've got no time for. But I was fascinated
about how the quiet eye works for basketball players, and then he started talking about the baseball players and hockey players, and I got interested then.
Yeah.
And again, understanding the line of sight, I think it's underrated by a
Oh,
lot of
100%.
people
Yeah.
because we just think it's all about that mechanics.
Yeah. No, 100%. I just was so I wish I'd love to do more on that. I'd love a refresher course. It's just all these courses, it's saving up as well, balancing your life and saving up the money to do these. I'm saving up to do the PDPA course like you did because I'm so fascinated. So it's really interesting going into these courses as a teacher because I kind of know how to teach a lesson. I know how to impart knowledge to children. I've been doing it for like 22 years. And I think the courses I've done so far, the JDC courses and SiteRight, I thought they were really valid in some ways, but no course yet has done for me what I wanted it to do. And I remember going back to my degree, and one of my specialisms was sport, was PE, because I loved being active. And when on my degree, my teaching degree, we take a sport, like I remember the swimming section where we were taught how to teach swimming. There basically has been people, very knowledgeable people, who have looked at the different elements of each, say, for example, a certain stroke in swimming. And they've broken it down to your body position should be this. Arm goes here, head goes here, eyes go here, bring this movement up first. So you get taught a kind of like a list of movements or a list of body positions that you're looking for that make that throw successful. And I think that's what we've been missing in darts. And because it's not been done before, really, until very recently, I think everyone's throw is so different. Everyone's alignment, everyone's stance, everything is so different. And even the professionals, there's no right way of doing it because it's never really been taught before. The professionals we're seeing at the moment were not taught in academies, apart from obviously your Luke Littlers. The very younger ones are now starting to come through where they have been taught in academies. But it's like a new thing. So when I did my degree and I had all this, you were taught these things. And I think naively, I went into thinking, I'm going to go and do my darts coaching courses. And they're going to tell me what a successful dart player looks like. They're going to show me and tell me, this is what you're looking for. And then once I know what I'm looking for, I will know how to teach it, because you say, okay, the progression to move from not throwing like this to throwing like this is A, B, C, D in this order, or roughly in this order. You've always got to allow for that personality, that individual, where you titivate that and make it fit the player. Yeah. But essentially, you've got a rough progression of movement. That didn't really exist in darts. So I went thinking they're going to tell me what to do so I can make players successful. And realizing that I wasn't told that at all. I was told to experiment with things. I loved on the JDC ones where they said, okay, they got us all. I don't know if you remember this because you did yours JDC differently to me, earlier than me.
Yeah.
But like, okay, have a go at throwing with 2 fingers, have a go at throwing with 3 fingers, have a go at throwing with 4 fingers, and then tick on your sheet what you hear, but experiment. Okay, stand this way, stand a different way, stand face on. And we experimented, and I'd never done that before. And I found that so valuable to feel what my body felt like in those different ways, different to what I did. And then that was great. But what I thought was going to happen after we did that was they were going to say, okay, well, actually, the most successful ones are likely to be this, and this. And of course, they didn't, because it's not there yet for anyone. And then I kind of did the SiteRight, and I loved all the alignment, and that made sense to me, and I felt really passionate about that. And we watched all those videos of professional players. But again, I hadn't got a trained eye at that point, and I was looking and I was seeing someone throw, but I couldn't pick up on the tiny differences. I almost wanted the pause in the video to say, do you see this? Do you see this? Have you noticed this? It being pointed out to me, because I didn't see it myself. And that was missing from that one. So both were really valid. I don't know, because I haven't done the PDPA one yet. I don't know what that was like, but I've heard really great stuff from you and everyone else who's done it. I think it sounds amazing. And I think, is it Daniel from Straight to the Point Darts has been involved with that? Now, I watch his stuff on you. I think he's amazing. The stuff he points out, I love that. So if it's designed by him, I think, wow, that must be pretty good. But I almost am waiting for someone to come out with, like, maybe you should do it, Sean. Maybe we need like a book of all the teaching points. And I think it's getting out there, but it's mixed in the online world with, again, well-meaning people, but maybe some of them misinformed. And there's a mixture of good advice but bad advice, and there's just this big jumble of advice.
It's I mean, the one thing I've always, I mean, going back to the PDPA, I mean, I don't know if, you know, I know Daniel. Yeah. We started the level 2 candidates last week.
Yeah.
We're off to the practical next week. Now, he isn't on the first, you know, load on the course, so I don't know. But yeah. So Glenn, the funniest part is I've told Glenn I want his job. So when you do your PDPA level 1, hopefully if I pass my level 2, I might be delivering the course soon. No, because I've told Glenn and Peter Manley that's what I want to do. But what you just said there is something that I always resonate with. That obviously just going on to you know, obviously through TikTok and your channel and everything on there, but we can all doom scroll TikTok till we, you know, the cows come home, if you will. But there is a lot of, and I call it tripe advice. But what made me laugh was it was a while ago, a couple of months back. I'd had a player who contacted me, you know, will you do me a free coaching session and I'll promote you through TikTok? And I went, no. But I did. He came for a coaching session. He booked in for a coaching session. I coached him. And the beauty bit is that I identified things that he was doing within his mechanics, his alignment pitch, the pitch you yaw it and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, we went through the session and I changed a few bits and bobs within his throw. And he could see the difference in his throw. And I keep saying it like that, his throw. And then all of a sudden, he did a video on TikTok and he was saying, if you want to get better at darts, this is what you need to do. And he's not saying anything about, you know, I give him this advice to him, to his throw. And he's telling people out there that you need to do this. If you want to get better at darts, you have to do this. And I'm like, when I saw it, I sent him a message and said, you've just given out tripe advice. He's like, that's the advice you give me. I went, there's your answer. I've given you that advice based on your throw. You're now saying to people to do this because I've told you to do this. That person down, you know, John who's watching this, or Peter who's watching this, or Debbie who's watching this, hasn't got that throw, hasn't got that mechanical style. So it's going to ruin them. I said, so well done, you've given out tripe advice. And he was like, but if that's the advice you're giving me, that's the advice that we should all have. And I think that's where the problem also lies within the social media world, is that we all throw different, and so we should. There is a fundamental and a basic behind the throw.
Yes.
But that's all it is. It's a fundamental and basic that we need to understand. So then we need to marry up the way we throw, the alignment of how we throw with the mechanic.
And the personality,
and that's where it all comes together. And, you know, I think, listen, I'm a big believer. You know, TikTok, I don't really bother too much with these days. I do the odd thing, but the amount, I don't know what you get. I mean, obviously, we'll drop all your links to your TikTok page in the show notes, etc. But I'm going to ask you this. I mean, obviously, we've had a great chat, and I want to continue this. To be fair, but on TikTok, how toxic do you find it?
It's been okay. So I am like the least likely content. I don't even consider myself a content creator, to be honest. I just don't. I don't see myself as that. So it was actually for myself more than anything, getting on there. So I had never been on TikTok until January this year. Might even have been February. I can't remember. So, as you know, I do a lot of reading and stuff, and I'm a big believer in pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So last year I had a really traumatic year. As a family, we did really, for sort of many reasons. One sort of element of that was the fact that, I mean, Gary and I have been together since we were 16, so we've been together a long time. And for the first time in like all this time of being together, he struggled for work. Like, he's a self-employed electrician, he struggled for work, and he went through a period of not being able to find work at all, and really, really struggling with his mental health, having never really suffered much before in the past, you know, really badly. So I'm supporting the family. At the same point, exactly the same point at the beginning, sort of May last year, there was a change in management at our school. So I was really happy in my school, and there was a change in management. And with a change in management, it's very sudden, a change in circumstances of how and how we work, and a different management style. And it's really important for me to be really happy in my job. And I just felt like my world fell apart. So I was having to work, but I was balancing and looking after my family and trying to make sure my children were safe and their mental health as well. I was worrying about the financial side because everything's going up, and because I'm very open, Gary and I had IVF, so a lot of our savings were wiped out actually having our family, and we never recouped that. So trying to figure out the finances, keep everything going, keep our mental health, but also myself in a really traumatic situation where I became desperately unhappy. I lost 3 stone in weight through stress alone. Was really struggling with my own mental health, but pushing myself into work every single day, knowing I'd got to provide for my family and that this was temporary. So I did that. I did that for 6 months. And I also was not naive in thinking, I need to give this change a go. I need to try. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to try and see if I can adjust to these changes. And it turns out I couldn't. I left my teaching role at Christmas thinking I'm going to have a breakdown if I stay. As it was, my husband luckily got another job then. He decided to come off being self-employed, and actually it was easier to get an employed role. And he became employed, and I gave up my teaching job. And I felt that the way the education system, that's a whole different podcast, but I've lost faith a little bit in in our education system. I think there's a lot there to work on. I think it's a mammoth task. Although I'm considered a good teacher, I've had outstanding observations in the past. I've been passionate about teaching. And I'm still passionate about teaching. It's the politics that all go with it, and the direction and what needs to be done, and how different life looks now, and what we're giving our children in school. So, but that's a different story. Anyway, I decided that I'm not ready to go back and teach in another school. I don't know if I ever will be. I needed a certain amount of decompression time because I felt there was a lot of trauma from the past year, and I needed to rebuild myself. And I came out feeling like I couldn't do anything. My darts started suffering. I hid myself away. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to. My mental health was in a really bad place. I didn't want to. I cut friends off. I just didn't want to be anywhere. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the only thing I kept up was mostly the academy. I did miss a couple of sessions where I felt like I couldn't leave the house because I was too frightened. I was just in a bad place. But actually, when I did push myself to go and teach at the academy, it made me feel better. And I knew that I needed to keep doing that. So I decided I needed something to focus on. I've never been unemployed. I love to work. I love to contribute. I need that stimulation. So I thought I'll start promoting the academy. So it started with the Facebook page, but then I thought, right, I'm going to discover TikTok and get on there. And I'd read these things about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And I was thinking, like, what am I scared of the most? What scares me the most? And I would consider myself a really nice person, a kind person, a non-judgmental person. And what scares me is when I go out is I don't like others judging other people. I know it's a natural tendency to judge, but it's a different thing thinking it inside and recognizing it and not saying anything. But for people to gossip, say mean things, project their issues onto other people, I find that really difficult. And I know a lot of people don't even know they're doing it, but I having read a lot of psychology books, I can spot it a mile off. And I just thought, I need to work on myself and I need to push myself out of my comfort zone. So I'm scared of judgment. I'm scared of being seen. I hide away. I hide the fact that I can do these things, that I think I'm good at certain things. And I make myself shrink. I keep myself small. And I was like, right, okay, I'm going to get on TikTok. I'm going to start doing a TikTok page. People are going to say it's silly. People are going to laugh at me. People are going to say my darts aren't good enough. People are going to say, these are all the things that I think about myself inside my body, inside my brain. These are all my secret insecurities. And I'm worried that other people are going to say them and that they're true. So do you know what? I'm going to prove to myself that even if they do say these things, and even if they are true, do you know what? It won't kill me. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do it anyway. And so I did, and I've gone out there and it's been scary and I felt like an idiot, and I've found it strange because I'm shy, I'm an introvert. But I do think I've got skills and insights to offer, and that some of them are valid. And I just had a go. And do you know what? It's been so interesting because from being scared and unseen, I'm building my own confidence back up. And all of a sudden, doors are opening and opportunities are coming my way and things I didn't think. And all of a sudden, I don't like to talk about manifesting as such. It's very modern and everything. But I do believe in manifesting, not in a magical sense, but in a sense that about being open to things, about being brave and following things. And I don't know, I just feel like it was really good for me. And yeah, I think that judgment is a really difficult thing, but that's where it came from. And I wanted to promote the academy. I wanted to show things. I wanted to help other academies. And as that's progressed, I'm almost doing a little bit of consulting, like free. I would like to get paid for it. I'm trying to get a job in the darts world. Anyone who wants to give me a job in the darts world, just give me one.
Get in touch.
Yeah, I kind of like doing a bit of free consultancy work, because academies are seeing my content on TikTok and messaging me and asking me for copies of my resources and asking my opinions on things. And I'm giving that out for free, but I'm loving it. I'm loving like helping people set up their own groups and stuff. It's a direction I didn't know what I wanted. When I left teaching, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I still don't 100%. There's a few different things I could do. I've gone from being a bit lost to kind of finding that, building my own confidence, feeling that I'm good at stuff again, and kind of, yeah, I'm just interested to see what direction that goes in. I don't know yet, but hopefully in a good direction. To do with
darts. No, I mean, I remember jumping on a TikTok and I saw that you were live on there, and I think you're one of the early ones. And you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Is anyone here? I don't know. And I was like, Dash, I'm here. Hello, how are you? And obviously, I mean, I know the Scholia UK reached out to you as well, and I know you do quite a bit with them as well on the streaming with Scholia UK, and the academy side of it. I know that I've got friends who spoke to me and gone, I got this off yourself, off your TikTok page. I'm like, yeah, great, you're doing right, because what you're offering in the thing, I said to you the other day, never do anything for free.
Yeah, I know.
I started out doing that. And obviously everyone wants stuff for free. I get it. I always have done. And yeah, we're right on what we do, because we're the type of people that want to help others. We want to help others get better. We want to help others get a better understanding of what we do.
And help them feel better. This, like I said to you, if we could all play with freedom, oh my God, Sean, how amazing would that be? If people could play with freedom and feel okay about, and that goes into like the girls game, like we were talking about before, in that girls are, I think generally a lot of girls are self-conscious, and some of that, because everyone, when they pick up darts for the first time, you're going to look silly, but people don't like to feel silly, and they mask that with making fun of themselves to mask that insecurity that they feel silly. It's that protection thing. They're putting that protection thing. So if I make fun of myself or I act silly, it's an easier cross to bear than actually trying to be good at something and failing, and it's that risk. Girls are less risky than boys, I think.
No, you're absolutely spot on. And like you say, I mean, I know one thing I wanted sort of, we may touch on it in another episode. We'll do, because I was going to, I want to have a chat with you about how we can get more girls and more ladies into the game, because
I could talk for an hour on that.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Taj, I think we will do another one because
Okay.
that is something that I think is worth talking. Was talking about because I've got to be honest. We're into the 6th month of the year now. You know, I coach. I don't coach 7 days a week, but I do offer it 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But last month, I'll just take May as the example here. I had 50. I think it was 53 players in for coaching across the month. And do you know how many females I had in? Just one.
Really? Yeah.
Just one female.
I've got one girl in my academy.
Yeah, and I'm like, I went to an academy last night. I won't say where it was, but I travelled, with Unicorn last night to an academy, and there was 3 girls there. That was it. Yeah. And one of them, looked disengaged a little bit at times. Yeah. And I look at it all the time, and I'm like, how can we get more, more girls, especially for the youth side of it, but more ladies just sort of, like you say, picking up darts, going, actually, if I am going to throw and I'm going to be out the board and everything, that's fine. Yeah. But then they can have the confidence to come to coaches like yourself, like myself, and go, right, I want to play darts. I love the game. It's an enjoyable game. Yeah. But how can I be helped with it? And I think that's something we're definitely going to do. I'm going to say to you now.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm staking my ground now. We are going to do another podcast, me and you talking about that.
I literally could talk so much about that. There's so many different elements, especially being a woman and being a girl. But also I would consider myself a little bit different to some of the other women that in darts, in that, I because I grew up in a family where I saw women playing darts. The women in my family played darts. I saw that, but there's this other side to me. So I love my darts, but I'm also really girly, and I love Fleetwood Mac, and I love like beautiful clothes, and I love Prosecco. And so I've got this side of me, but then I've got this kind of like male dominated sport at the moment, like interested in that. And it's possible to marry the two. You can be like really girly and love those things, but also love darts.
I think it's definitely something, because one thing I know when I sent you over some sort of show notes earlier, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about was obviously the WADC as it's now known, the Women's ADC. I saw an event a few weeks ago that only had 4 ladies, enter it, and you think to yourself, in that area there is a women's darts league, so that I know there's a women's darts league in this particular area where the WADC was. Yeah. And there was only 4 women entering, and you think to yourself, I don't get it. I can't marry the two. So that's definitely something for another podcast for us. 100%. And we're going to get that locked in. Obviously, I want to go into my big 6.
Of course.
Because I've taken a good amount of your time, but we are going to do another. But I want to go into my big 6. I do this, every time I get a guest on. I've got 6 random questions. You haven't got a clue what they are.
No, not a clue.
I'm going to fire them at you. And I just want you to sort of give me your first response in a way.
Okay.
If I need to debate it with you, I will, obviously. But the first one's always a great debate, this one is. So, we're going into the big 6.
SWR Big 6.
Question number 1. What's your go-to meal in a Wetherspoon?
Oh, does it sound really terrible that I don't know? I might have been to a Wetherspoons like years ago. I don't... I'm so sorry.
I'm trying to get sponsored by him. I'm not lying about it. I'm trying to get Tim Martin to sponsor me.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, if we go out anywhere, like I don't know, I don't really go out and eat many places. I like to cook from scratch at home. So
it's better than the microwavable meals you get in Wetherspoons. Disclaimer: I don't know if they are microwavable meals. We all know they are, though. We all know they are.
Sorry.
If you could spend 1 month in a UK city, which city would it be? You've got to spend the whole month in that city.
Oh, probably Manchester. Do you know what? I'm not very well travelled. I'll admit. I'm a nervous driver. I rely on other people to drive me places, even though I can drive. It's bravery again. That's another thing to conquer. We went to Manchester to see a concert a few years ago, and oh my goodness! So I'm local. Obviously, Cambridge is just down the road. I just thought Manchester, they were so friendly. They were so lovely up north. And I was like, you go to Cambridge and no one will speak to you. Well, I don't know, maybe it's just the day I went. I don't want to diss Cambridge because Cambridge is beautiful. But Manchester, I just loved the vibe. I was like, I need to move here. It's amazing.
It's a great place. Honestly, I've always joked. I mean, obviously, I class myself as a northerner because I'm above the Watford Gap.
Yeah.
But I went down to London a few weeks back, well, a month back. I took my daughter to watch Arsenal against Man City women, and no one talks to you. You know, you try to have a conversation with someone on the tube, no one's having a conversation with you. You try to have a conversation in a pub, no one's having a conversation with you. So I get where you're coming from. It's just something ingrained in us northerners, I think. Yeah. What is the one thing you'd change about public transport?
Oh God. I don't use public transport. I must admit, I don't really go anywhere. I find it all a bit stressful. I'm an introvert, like I told you, I'm an introvert. I don't like being around large groups of people. I don't like feeling stressed and flustered, waiting for things. I'd rather be in my own car, away from everyone, with my own music on.
There's no wrong with that. There's absolutely no wrong with that. Let me assure you.
It's so terrible. I know, I sound awful.
What style tournament would you add to darts if you could add a tournament to darts?
Oh my goodness. Well, I know there's lots of talk about the Royal Nottingham Darts Academy. I think they were the first ones who did the Royal Rumble. I saw their stuff on YouTube and I thought their 2-hour, honestly, if people haven't seen it, go on YouTube and look up Nottingham Darts Academy, and they've got a 2-hour video that they did, which is magic. And I love that. I got in contact with, I forget the guy's, I want to say Adam, but I might have made that up.
Adam Collin. Yeah.
I spoke to him and I was like, wow, that was incredible. You did such a good job. Would you mind if we did that, replicated that in our academy at some point? And he was like, no, absolutely. I wanted to ask permission because I think that's respectful. I think it's respectful. But if that concept, they were amazing to come up with that. And now it's trickling through and a few more people have done them and thinking about them. I love that concept and I think it's really exciting. But yeah,
that would work really well.
And I think the idea of like suddenly this crossover, let's look at all sports, let's see what they do, and let's see how we could how exciting is that? Amazing.
Well, it's something we did, like, you know, winner stay. In fact, it's a winner stays on tournament.
Yeah.
But no one loses coming up. I remember we used to do them in our academy. We didn't do them as a 501 game. We did them as like a random training game. But yeah, it's an absolute fantastic style event.
Yeah.
Bit of a very random one here. Bit of left field for me, this one. Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings?
Oh, Game of Thrones.
Good choice.
I am not into,
There was only one answer, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, and House of the Dragon. I can't wait till that comes on. Literally, you know, I've got the blonde hair. I want to be a Targaryen.
Like I say, there was only one answer for that question. I won't lie to you. That was the one I thought we might have had a debate on, but we didn't. I love that. And this is, again, another left field question. You've walked into a major brand of supermarket. It could be any of the supermarkets. What's the one aisle you get rid of?
Get rid of? Oh. Clothes aisle. I never show any interest in like the supermarket clothes. And there's a reason. It's not like, I just feel like I'm not a big fan of chains, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So yeah, I like to go to the supermarket and be able to get everything I want to run my house and eat in one place. I get that. But chains, I just think they ruin everything. So as well as being a teacher, I because of the ADHD thing, I dip my toes into all sorts of things. And I actually had my own bakery at one point. I can design wedding cakes, and I'm quite artistic. So I had my own little bakery for a little while. And I used to love that home touch, that creative touch, that independent, unique touch. And I love shops that are unique and beautiful. I love that spin on things. I like things that are unusual, and I like there to be differences. And because of social media and because of big chains, everything is the same. You go to one city and another city and they've got all the same shops. And I don't want that. I want little shops that are different. And I want that from shops, and I want that from clothes. I don't want us to all look the same. I want us to celebrate everyone looking different and being their own style and their own personality. So that's kind of where that comes from.
No, yeah. I totally love that. But the aisle I get rid of is the alcohol aisle. That way everyone has to go and use a pub.
No, that would be really good. Yeah.
Mostly a Weatherspoon. Get yourself in a Weatherspoon. Get yourself in a Weatherspoon. You won't regret it. Trust me, you won't regret it.
I will have to try and find a Wetherspoons and go in there and have a drink. Yeah.
There's 418 across the country. I'm currently at 236. I've ticked off.
On it.
Yeah, so Tim Martin, if you're listening to this, I am still available for sponsorship. I am going to have to wrap it up, Tash, but what I want to say is I absolutely want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time today.
No,
and we're going to do another podcast because
perfect.
I think there's two other things that I want to touch on, obviously the ladies and the girls and darts.
Yeah.
But I want us to dive a little bit deeper into the sort of the psychology as well.
Yeah.
Because you've got the same understanding that I try and bring in my sessions. So I think we can do a podcast whereby we can sort of dive into that a little bit more as well. And, listen, I've never made any bold claims. I don't get a lot of listeners. I think the last 4 podcasts have been the best 4 in ratings wise, but we're only talking, a couple of hundred. I think the one with Alice has just touched over sort of 300, 400 listens here on Spotify, and I'm on YouTube now. I didn't even know how I did that, but I'm on YouTube as well now, so I don't even know how I did it. But I think that's what we'll do. So I'm going to touch base with you, and we're going to get another date in the diary for us to do another one of these. But this has been absolutely fantastic. Just to hear how you're bringing your knowledge and your learning and everything into your academy is absolutely wonderful. And in the show notes, I call them show notes. I heard that on a podcast the other day, so I'm starting calling it show notes. It's basically just a description box, isn't it? I'm going to put all the links to yourself, all the links to obviously your academy, your TikTok, and everything, and how people can get in touch with you. Because I genuinely said it to you the other day in a message when we were talking, off air. See, I'm sounding professional, aren't I? I think that once you've got your PDPA, I think that'll be the one for you. That's when you'll flourish out there, because there are a good amount of ladies darts coaches. I'm not going to sit here and say there isn't. I think there's 2 on the level 2 at the moment with us.
Yeah.
But we, again, as we've said before, we need more.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I love it. I just, so great. We all love darts.
we do. Tash, once again, I really want to thank you very much for your time. And you'll be back on another episode. So everyone who's listening, if you've enjoyed today, which I know you will have done, Tash will be back with us in a future episode without a doubt. But thank you once again.
Thank you. No worries. Thank you, Sean.